Crown Land. We are on Crown Land right now, just off of Parry Sound. Does the king own all this stuff?
Technically, yes. We're not expecting the king to drop by unannounced and inspect his land.
Kind of thinking as I'm talking.
It's got to be shut when you move.
Slow down, Ben.
Yeah.
This is not that complicated of a show. There's a problem with Georgian Bay, and it's the name. It's a bit misleading. Technically, this is just a large bay on Lake Huron. But at 15,000 square kilometers, it's more of a lake. In fact, it's about 80% the size of Lake Ontario. That's a heck of a bay. The western boundary is the Bruce Peninsula, with Tobermory at the northern extreme, famous for its freshwater scuba diving and multiple well-preserved shipwrecks thanks to the cold water. Here, too, you can board the Chi-Chi-Mon Ferry, which takes you to Manitoulin Island, which marks the northern extreme of Georgian Bay. The limestone shores along the Bruce are home to caves and grottos and the unique formations that give the name to Flower Pot Island. This is actually part of the Niagara Escarpment, not the Canadian Shield, which is why the rocks around Tobermory look so different from those on the eastern side of Georgian Bay. The southern extreme is where you'll find Wasaga Beach, the longest freshwater beach anywhere in the world, at 14 kilometers long. Surprisingly, this is one of the regions of Ontario that I haven't really explored by boat that much. So I'm going to turn to the expert, my friend Elizabeth Wilson.
Hey, Steve. Georgian Bay is truly a boater's paradise. We have so many anchorage options and scenic routes to choose from. It's like a regular buffet for boaters. And today I'm going to share a few of my favorites, some must-see places that really make Georgian Bay beautiful. And your timing couldn't be better. You've actually caught me out enjoying this warm fall day at one of them, American Camp Island, one of the 30,000 islands scattered along our eastern shore. This particular island was a donation from a local family and is now managed by the Georgian Bay Land Trust nonprofit group, who ensures it remains in its natural state by limiting onshore visitors and monitoring the wildlife. In the summer, there are always a few boats anchored in the harbor and day trippers moored along the shore. It's a popular place. The 30,000 islands are the largest freshwater archipelago in the world, and this is where I always suggest new boaters begin exploring if they want a good taste of Georgian Bay. Georgian Bay offers so many options for boaters, but for newcomers, it can all be a little overwhelming, which is one of the reasons I created my website, Georgian Bay Beauties. I know, Steve, it's a bit of a strange name for a boating website, but hear my story. I'm the third generation of Georgian Bay boaters. My grandparents first started boating this bay back in the 1960s on their Chris-Craft Constellation. Then my parents had a boat that they kept in Penetanguishene for a couple decades, and I got to tag along with all of them. And we always referred to epic moments as beauties, like a beauty sunset or fish caught for dinner. And so I decided to stick with tradition, using the term beauties to refer to my stories, photos, and videos. My boating life now includes my husband, Tony, our 40-foot Sea Ray, Georgian Pearl, and our dinghy, George. And together we explored the bay from May until October, seeking out new adventures, and the more remote, the better. Over the years, we have traveled through some pretty magical places on the bay, seen some amazing sights, and had some very interesting experiences. Not all of them positive, mind you. And I turn these into stories on my website, sharing tips on anchorages, dinghy day trips, links to local weather forecasts, and boating lifestyle advice. I hope that by including a bit of local information, such as the history of a shipwreck or lighthouse, boaters would come to appreciate just how special Georgian Bay is. And of course, the wildlife is always a big part of boating on the bay. We are truly humbled to share their space, even if they pop up in places we least expect them. But most are friendly, and a few not so lucky. And yes, sometimes we eat them. Georgian Bay is truly Canada's freshwater paradise for boaters. And for those of us who live here year-round, it's more than just a place, it's a way of living. It was great chatting with you today, Steve. I really hope you'll come back next season. There's so many things we could do, like a cruise through the 30,000 islands, maybe a lighthouse tour, or maybe a restaurant tour. The options are endless here on Georgian Bay.
Give it in the crowd. Show them how you
We are absolutely spoiled for choice as boaters in Ontario. 250,000 lakes, millions of kilometers of rivers and streams and things like that. But a lot of it is crown land, which means the king, I understand, owns it. But I don't think he shows up and checks on things. And so we are able to access it in some ways. How exactly? I don't know. But I know who does know. Minister Graydon Smith, Minister of Natural Resources. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Great to be out with you today.
Beautiful day you've arranged with all these natural resources. Nice job. So Crown Land. We are on Crown Land right now, just off of Parry Sound. Tell me, first of all, like what it means. Is that right? Does the king own all this stuff?
Technically, yes. We're not expecting the king to drop by unannounced and inspect his land, but it does mean that there is a lot of land that the government has domain over, and it's really unpatented land in Ontario. And so there are so many opportunities for people to access it, whether it's by water, whether it's by land, and it's there for the people of Ontario to use, and that's one of the beautiful things about our province.
So let's talk about that a little bit, how we can access it. So here in Georgian Bay, 30,000 islands, a lot of those are Crown Land islands. Can I just rock up on my boat and access any Crown Land? Do I have to reserve it? What's the high-level rules about this?
Yeah, it's not a park, it's just land. So you can come up, use it, camp. Usually around 21 days is kind of the limit to be in any one spot. And then there's water camping as well, right? So the Crown Land is considered not only the land that we can see that we're standing on right now, but also out on the lake and the lake bed too. We
don't need the reservations, but the key is leave it better than you found it. Don't leave a single thing here and don't disturb anything.
Always the rule. We're so blessed here in Ontario with the beautiful land that we have, the biodiversity on this land. Of course, we know that people that go out, for the most part, that want to be on the water and on the land are very, very respectful, but there are still some that need the message to, as you said, leave it better than you found it, clean up after yourselves, have respect for the next person that might come by, or the animals and the biodiversity that's here.
But ultimately, get out there and enjoy it, because not everywhere in the world gets this, and it's a shame to not experience it.
Absolutely. Again, Ontario is such a big province. The vast majority of it is Crown Land. The further north you go, the more Crown Land there is. And so the opportunities for adventure, for discovery, it's unlimited. So whether you're up in Northwest Ontario or whether you're here in kind of central Ontario, just off Georgian Bay, the opportunities are diverse, they're different, but they're all amazing.
Final question, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So you grew up in Port Sydney, mayor of Bracebridge. You've lived where a lot of people in the greater Toronto area have come for vacation. But now, as a minister in the provincial government, you go all over the place and get to see all kinds of things even more beautiful than maybe where you grew up. Where have you been that in the province that just stands out to you, that shocks you from a water or boating perspective?
A couple of things. My family every year does a trip over to Lake Huron. And I find that Lake Huron shoreline around Sauble Beach and Port Elgin, Southampton, really amazing, beautiful part of Ontario. But I've had a lot of opportunities to go up into the Northwest. And you get in a car and you drive out to somewhere like Atikokan and stop at Kakabeka Falls, and it is stunning. Like the the surroundings just kind of envelop you. And, I am blessed to live here. I do think it is one of the absolute showpieces of Ontario to be in Muskoka and Parry Sound area. But there are a ton of beautiful areas in Ontario, and people need to take that opportunity to travel around their own province, get excited about it, because it's amazing.
I love it. So there you go. The answers. Yes, you can use Crown land. Leave it better than you found it. And 21 days kind of maxes it out, which seems like a long time. Move it around. You're not squatting here. You're exploring and camping or anchoring. And there you go. Got it from the man himself. Thanks for sharing your office with us here.
Listen, my pleasure. I got the best office in the world. There are some ministers that are all policy all the time. I'm all outdoors all the time. So blessed to be doing this job here in Ontario.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Give it in the crowd. Show them how.
Hi, folks. Great job in the life jackets.
Sergeant Dave Moffat, how are you?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Living the dream.
Excellent.
OPP Marine Unit. Don't believe me. I talk about safety. These guys see it. Oh, life jackets. I seen you thanking people as we pass by. Why is this so important?
It is absolutely crucial that people wear the life jackets. In the last 11 years, we've lost 260 people in marine-related deaths, and 84% of those people weren't wearing life jackets. So, those numbers would change drastically if people just put on a life jacket and wear something that's comfortable. Inflatable life jackets are the way to go.
You got all the options now. It's like, for me, it's like a seatbelt. If I don't have it on, it feels
That's right.
odd.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, close at hand isn't close enough. On is what we need, right?
That's right. Yeah, make sure you put it on. Don't put it beside you. It does nothing if it's beside you.
Well, I like this one that says police. I'm going to keep this one. Thanks for this, by the way. The southeast end of Georgian Bay is home to Lock 45, Port Severn. The first or final lock, depending on your Trent Severn waterway direction. Not far from that is Penetanguishene Bay, protected natural harbor that was identified as a perfect place for a military base after the War of 1812. What was originally called His Majesty's establishment on Lake Huron, it was active between 1817 and 1856. The only original building that survived is the officers' quarters, built in 1836. But they have historical reenactors and replica buildings on site, and have even salvaged the wreck of the HMS Tecumseh, a topsail schooner that, after the War of 1812, was used as a troop and supply transport on the Great Lakes. Even better, they have a full-size replica of her floating in the bay. To explore the grounds, you need to arrive by car, but I want to learn more about that old ship. And that's best done by water, if you ask me. And I found the perfect person to tell me the story.
You see Saving Private Ryan? There was a fight like that at Wasaga Beach.
From 1997 to 2002, I was HMS B's captain, the smaller of the two schooners. These days, as a contractor, I look after the historic and technical side of the rigging and the maintenance of the vessels.
There's all manner of replicas in terms of how true they are to history. On a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of historical accuracy, what would you give these?
I'd give them both an 8 or a 9. The vessels were originally built at a time in Canada's history when we just fought a savage war with the United States, who tried 5 times in 2.5 years to invade us. That was a pretty serious matter to the people who built those ships. B, the smaller one, was one of 3 transport gunboats that were built to carry lighter guns. Tecumseh was one of 2 that were built to carry very heavy guns and help defend the upper Great Lakes against the Americans if they came again. So those were different imperatives than today. Today, we need to come home safely with everybody that sets out in them, and that comes first. So there were some compromises made in the vessels with the way they're ballasted, which has to do with stability, and also with regards to maintenance. Tecumseh is steel. That was unheard of for building ships in 1815 when the original of her was built. B was as a reproduction of a vessel originally built in 1817 over at Wasaga. This vessel is a composite of fiberglass and wood, and they both have pretty much the appearance that the vessels would have had then. If you took Captain Roberts from 1821 and brought him out here on this motorboat after he got over the fact that it has an engine he never would have heard of. He'd look at those and probably recognize them.
Do they still sail? Are they still seaworthy?
Well, yeah, both vessels are floating right now. They were operational until 2002 when the Ontario government's mandates changed and their sailing programs ended. We sailed both vessels all over the Great Lakes, as far away as Toronto and Chicago. And I used to stand on B's quarterdeck when I was her captain and quietly imagine impure things like where I'd take her if she was mine. I'd take that little schooner anywhere. She was a sweet little vessel.
But it's still here, so there was none of these vacation mutinies.
No, we never did that. I never stole her. I used to describe this site to people as the Cold War missile silo of its era. After the war, we didn't really trust each other still, so both sides maintained defenses despite the world's first arms limitation treaty, the Rush-Bagot Agreement, which allowed vessels to be held by navies on the lakes, but not to arm them. So at this place here, we had a number of vessels in the harbor, some we'd taken from the Americans during the war, and 5 that we built ourselves. The weapons were in the red building, and the ships were ready to go on a week's notice, and they waited for 54 years for another war, which never came. So on the bottom of the harbor where we are right now is the wreck of Tecumseh's sister, Nawash. And I think the fact that she and B and the others sank at their moorings out of old age is a testament to the peace between our countries. They didn't die in a blaze of combat, they died of old age, and that's a good thing.
Give it in the crowd. Show them how you
If you've boated anywhere in Georgian Bay, I am basically guaranteeing you've seen a Stanley boat. And they are made right here in Parry Sound. There's a big one behind us. And got Ben Russell here, plant manager for Connor Industries Stanley Boat. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Well, we couldn't leave without stopping by and getting in the way. It is an impressive facility, multiple buildings, multiple boats. For someone that's never been to Georgian Bay, though, tell me about Stanley boats.
So Stanley boats, probably one of the safest boats you can probably get on the bay. We've been around since 1982, and we've been building a whole variety of boats. We have commercial boats, recreation boats, and they just keep on growing.
And they're not fiberglass, they're not wood. These are some rugged, stone-hitting kind of vessels, aren't they?
Some big aluminum boats. Yeah.
And thick, too, like thicker than what you might think for most aluminum boats. So when we say rugged and heavy, nothing's truly indestructible, but this is as close as you can get, right?
Yep. So we go 3/16 minimum on all of the hulls of our boats. So very rugged, very, very strong.
If I remember all the spec sheets and things I've read at boat shows, that's like double or triple what a normal boat is that right?
Exactly, and they're fully welded too, no rivets, so they're fully seamed. They're all pressure tested in-house, and we make sure that everything is good before it leaves here.
One of the really cool things about Stanley boats is that, so you'll see them on Georgian Bay, people using them for cottage boats, getting to their island, but you also do a lot of industrial stuff, fire and rescue, search and rescue, big landing craft like this. Tell me about those clients. It's not just people like me having fun, right?
No, exactly. We have a large commercial business as well that we ship boats actually all over the world. It's funny, from a very small town. So they go all over in a whole bunch of different things, fire rescue, search and rescue, just commercial contractors, even just getting things to islands that can carry large amounts of weight.
And how far from Parry Sound are we shipping these boats? Or we're outside of Ontario, right? We're getting a little far, but how far?
We can go anywhere. Right now, we have a lot in the U.S., so it varies all the way down to even Texas, right? So
Texas to the Arctic.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I like it. How long have you been with the company?
4 years.
Okay. There's a lot of options, but just sort of high-level range of what you can do anything. You can do a custom build if someone comes and wants something tiny or large, but a normal production year, what are we looking at? From smallest to largest?
As far as size of vessel?
Yeah.
We go from 16 foot up to, we just did a 48 foot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what the largest, is 48 the largest you made? Or is
No,
it-
we've done a 60.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's cool. That would have been like a commercial boat, I'm guessing?
Yeah, for whale watching up north. Yeah.
Neat.
It's a 60-foot catamaran. Yeah.
That could that hold a truck? Like an actual vehicle or just ATVs? That looks pretty big.
Nope, we can put a truck on that boat.
There you go. For all you out there who said, you know what, I'm fine parking my trailer, but I'll be damned if I'm paying for truck parking, you just need one of these. So, you know, outside of your pay grade as a plant manager, but why stay in Parry Sound? You know, if you're shipping all over the world, why stay? This is where it started.
This is where it started, and this is where the roots are. So I don't think the company would ever leave the community here. And we've built a really good brand and base, and the community supports us as well. So there'd be no reason for us to go anywhere else.
Cool. I love it. Thank you for the tour.
No problem.
I'll take it. Unless I have to buy it, in which case I'm leaving. So how's this? This fits. This is
It's a
good, right?
little loose, right? I think there was a more stealth guy on board before that was wearing I'll just tighten it up for you.
Oh, hang on. I know, I've met you guys
Yeah.
before. There's nothing sharp in my pockets.
I don't know. I don't think I'll get my handcuffs out this time, okay?
Do you want to start a new clip or just keep going? Either one with me. Here's my fun fact for the day. Rolling? Rolling. The pointy end's the bow.